The text came through at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. My husband Marcus stood in the doorway of our bedroom, phone in hand, that careful expression on his face that I'd learned to read like a weather pattern. "Mom wants us for dinner Friday night," he said. "Family thing? She's insisting." I looked up from my laptop. "What kind of family thing?" "Just dinner." He shifted his weight. "Can you just be polite, please?" That please hung in the air between us. Not a request, a warning. I'd been married to Marcus Holloway for 6 years. His mother, Diane, had made it clear from our engagement party that I was an inconvenience she tolerated, the girl who trapped her brilliant son, the deadweight he'd eventually outgrow. "Fine," I said. "I'll be polite." He nodded and left the room before I could ask anything else. Through the wall, I heard him on the phone with his mother. Low murmurs, then laughter. I stared at the spreadsheet on my screen. Quarterly projections, revenue forecasts, numbers that would make most people dizzy. Numbers no one in Marcus's family had ever asked me about. Friday came too fast. Marcus drove us to his mother's house in Oak Ridge, the neighborhood where he grew up. Big colonials with circular driveways and SUVs parked like trophies. Diane's house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, all cream siding and black shutters, and that perfect lawn she paid someone to maintain. "Remember," Marcus said as we pulled in, "just get through tonight." "Why do you keep saying that?" He turned off the engine. "Saying what? Like I'm the problem." "Nina!" He sighed my name like it exhausted him. "I'm not doing this right now." Inside, the dining room was already full. Marcus's brother Cameron and his wife Ashley, his sister Vanessa with her husband Josh. Diane at the head of the table, silver hair perfect, smile sharp. "Nina," she said, standing to air kiss near my cheek. "So glad you could make it." Everyone else offered polite hellos. I noticed phones propped on the sideboard. 3 of them, angled toward the table. "Are we filming something?" I asked. Ashley laughed. "Just for memories." We sat. I ended up between Marcus and Vanessa, directly across from Diane. Prime viewing angle for whatever this was. Diane poured wine. "I'm so happy everyone could be here tonight. It's been too long since we've all gathered. We'd had dinner here 2 weeks ago. The meal started normally enough. Roast chicken, garlic potatoes, conversation about Cameron's promotion, and Vanessa's remodeling project. I stayed quiet, cutting my food into small pieces, waiting. Then Diane set down her fork with a deliberate clink. "You know," she said, looking directly at me, "I was talking to my bridge club about careers, success, what it means to build something." Here it comes, I thought. And I realized how lucky Marcus is. She smiled. To have been able to focus entirely on his career without distractions. Vanessa nodded. "It's so important to have that support system." "Exactly." Diane took a sip of wine. "Some women understand that their role is to support, to step back, to make sacrifices." She paused. "Even when those sacrifices mean giving up on their own ambitions." The word ambitions dripped with pity. Marcus stared at his plate. Not a word. "I mean, what was it you used to do, Nina?" Ashley asked, all false curiosity. "Before?" "Marketing," I said quietly. "Oh, that's right." Diane laughed. "Well, that field is so oversaturated anyway, probably for the best." Cameron chuckled. Josh smirked into his napkin. "The important thing," Diane continued, "is that Marcus has been able to thrive. His salary alone has carried this family through so much." This family. As if I weren't sitting right there. Vanessa leaned closer. "You must be so proud of him." "I am," I said. "Of course you are." Diane stood and retrieved a stack of envelopes from the sideboard. "Which is why tonight is special. I wanted to do something meaningful for everyone who's contributed to our family's success." She handed envelopes around the table. Cameron, Ashley, Vanessa, Josh, Marcus. Everyone opened them. Checks. I couldn't see the amounts, but the reactions told me enough. Wide eyes. Grateful murmurs. Mom, this is too generous, Marcus said. You've earned it, sweetheart. Then Diane turned to me. She held one final envelope, thinner than the others. She placed it in front of me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I opened it. Empty. I thought about what to give you, Diane said, her voice carrying across the table. And I realized the best gift I could offer is motivation. Vanessa covered her mouth, shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. Motivation to, maybe, contribute something someday. Diane raised her glass. That's the real gift, don't you think? I stared at the empty envelope. The room felt both too hot and too cold. Ashley's phone on the sideboard had a red recording light. So did Cameron's. This is being recorded, I said. For memories, Ashley repeated cheerfully. Diane raised her glass higher. To my son Marcus, for carrying this family financially, for shouldering the burden of responsibility while others. She glanced at me. Figure things out. Everyone raised their glasses except me. Marcus lifted his glass. He met his mother's eyes and smiled. Thanks, Mom. Not a single word of defense. Not even a glance my way. To temporary chapters, Diane added, her gaze locked on me. And to permanent family. They drank. I excused myself, walking calmly to the bathroom down the hall. I locked the door and stood at the sink, gripping the marble counter. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I'd known on some level that this dinner was a setup, but understanding it and experiencing it were different things. They'd planned this. The recording, the empty envelope, the public humiliation. Every word calibrated to make me feel small. The goal was clear. Make me desperate. Make me compliant. Make me so grateful for Marcus that I'd accept whatever came next. But standing in that bathroom, staring at my own reflection, I didn't feel sad. I felt done. Done pretending. Done shrinking. Done protecting information that could have saved me years of this. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to my attorney. Then I washed my hands, fixed my lipstick, and walked back to that dining room. Time to stop hiding. When I returned, they were passing around dessert, Diane's famous lemon cake. Everyone laughing, relaxed, like the ambush was over. I sat down. Feeling better? Diane asked sweetly. Much better, actually. Marcus touched my arm. A warning pressure. Diane cut a slice of cake. You know, Nina, I hope you didn't take anything personally. We're family here. We can be honest with each other. Honest, I repeated. That's good. I appreciate honesty. Of course. She slid the cake across. And I hope you know that everything we do out of love, even tough love. Cameron nodded. It's important to have realistic expectations. Realistic, I said. Yes. Diane leaned back in her chair, satisfied. I'm glad we understand each other. Actually, I said, setting down my fork, I don't think we do. The table went quiet. There's something I should probably clear up, I continued. A misunderstanding that's gone on too long. Marcus's hand tightened on my arm. Nina, I pulled away gently. You've all been very concerned about my career. Or lack of one. We just want what's best, Diane said carefully. I know, I smiled. Which is why I should probably mention that I'm not unemployed. Ashley laughed uncertainly. What? I've been working this whole time, I paused. I just stopped talking about it. Vanessa exchanged a glance with her mother. Doing what, exactly? Consulting, I said. Strategy, brand development. That oversaturated marketing field Diane mentioned. The room shifted. Small movements, chairs creaking, phones being adjusted. That's wonderful, Diane said with forced brightness. Part-time work is so fulfilling. Not part-time, I corrected. Full-time. Actually, more than full-time. Marcus stared at me like I'd grown a second head. What are you talking about? The late nights you thought I was watching Netflix? Client calls? The weekends you thought I was shopping? Pitch meetings? The times you got annoyed I was on my laptop? Building something. Building what? Cameron asked. A firm, I said simply. My own agency. Silence. When you say agency, Josh started, I mean a full-service brand consultancy. 12 employees currently. Offices in 2 cities. We handle everything from market positioning to digital campaigns for mid to large corporations. Ashley's smile faltered. That's great. Like a small local thing? We have clients in 7 states, I said. Revenue last year hit $3.2 million. You could have heard a pin drop. Marcus turned to face me fully. What? You never asked, I said quietly. You're lying, Vanessa said flatly. I pulled my phone from my purse, opened my banking app, turned the screen so the table could see. Business account. Current balance, $847,000. Diane's face went white. That's impossible, she whispered. It's actually fairly simple, I said. I kept my client network when I left my old job, signed NDAs, built relationships, worked quietly, scaled gradually. Marcus thought I was just around, supporting him. I looked at my husband. Because you never once asked what I was doing. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. 3.2 million? Cameron repeated. That's gross revenue, I clarified. After salaries and overhead, I take home around $400,000 annually, give or take. Ashley made a small choking sound. I turned to Diane. Which is more than Marcus makes, substantially more. You're making this up, Marcus said, but his voice cracked. I opened my email, pulled up the most recent contract. This is from last month. Is rebranding campaign for a national retail chain. 2-year contract, $650,000 total. I slid the phone to him. He read it. His face drained of color. And this isn't new, I continued. I incorporated 4 years ago, filed taxes separately, built everything under my name, with my capital, using my contacts. Why didn't you tell me? Marcus demanded. I tried, I said. The first year, you said you were too busy to listen. You told me to stop bothering you with hobby talk, so I stopped trying. That's not. You told your mother I was replaceable, I said. I heard you, on the phone, 2 years ago. You said I was temporary, a phase, that you'd figure it out eventually. His face confirmed it. So I figured something out too. I stood. I built a life you knew nothing about. Because I realized you'd never see me as anything but the burden your mother told you I was. Diane found her voice. This is absurd. If you had money, why live like... Like what? I asked. Like we needed Marcus's salary? Because we did. For his student loans, his car, his lifestyle. I looked at him. I've been paying 70% of our household expenses for 3 years. You never noticed. That's impossible, he said weakly. Check the accounts, our accounts, the joint ones. I smiled. I stopped contributing last month. You should start noticing soon. Vanessa stood abruptly. You've been hiding money from your husband? Community property state, I said calmly. Everything I built during the marriage is half his legally. At least it would be. I paused. If we stayed married. Marcus went very still. Nina. I filed separation papers this morning, I said. My attorney will contact you Monday. The table erupted. Diane shouting, Vanessa demanding answers, Cameron calling me a liar, Ashley frantically Googling my company name. Marcus just stared at me. You can't do this. I already did. We can fix this, he said desperately. I didn't know. You didn't ask, I corrected. There's a difference. Mom, he turned to Diane. Say something. But Diane had found my company website on her phone, found the client list, the testimonials, the awards we'd won. Her hand shook. You let us believe, she started. You never asked, I repeated. Not once in 6 years did you ask what I did with my time. You assumed, you decided. You built an entire narrative about who I was, without ever once wondering if you were wrong. I picked up my purse. The dinner tonight was supposed to humiliate me into submission, I said. The empty envelope, the recording, all of it. You wanted to make me feel worthless so I'd accept whatever came next. What came next? Josh asked quietly. I looked at Diane. What came next? Her silence was confirmation enough. Let me guess, I said. Some kind of business opportunity, an investment you needed, maybe a loan. And you thought if you made me feel small enough, desperate enough, I'd sign over money I didn't actually have. I tilted my head. How close am I? Diane's jaw clenched. The paperwork is in your office, isn't it? I asked. Ready for signatures. Cameron stood. You don't know what you're talking about. Then show me I'm wrong, I said. Open the office. No one moved. That's what I thought. I headed for the door. Marcus followed me. Nina, please, we can talk about this. We had 6 years to talk, I said. You chose not to. I didn't know you felt... I told you, I said. So many times. You weren't listening. My family... Your family, I interrupted, spent years treating me like a charity case while I quietly made more money than all of them combined. They filmed me, humiliated me, and you sat there and let it happen. I was trying to keep the peace, he said. You were choosing them, I said, every single time. Diane appeared behind him. If you think you're taking half of what Marcus built... Marcus built? I laughed. It came out sharper than I intended. Diane, your son makes $140,000 a year. That's respectable. Good, even. But my firm was valued at $4.8 million in our last funding round. Her mouth fell open. I own 80% equity. That's roughly $3.8 million in assets. His half of our marital property is a 2-bedroom condo we rent and a 7-year-old Honda. I paused. He should be so lucky to walk away clean. You vindictive, Diane started. No, I cut her off. Vindictive would have been announcing all of this at dinner before you handed out those envelopes. Vindictive would have been inviting your bridge club to watch. I stepped closer. I'm being merciful. I'm leaving quietly. No public spectacle. No lawsuit for emotional distress. Just a clean exit. You can't abandon family, Vanessa called from inside. You're right, I said. You can't abandon family, but you can walk away from people who never treated you like family in the first place. I walked to my car. Marcus followed all the way. I love you, he said as I opened the door. I stopped, turned, looked at the man I'd spent 6 years with, the man who'd watched his mother humiliate me 100 times, who'd never once asked what I was building, who'd called me a burden behind my back and a wife to my face. No, I said quietly. You loved the idea of me, the version that stayed small, that needed you. That's not true. Marcus, I smiled sadly. You didn't even know what I did for a living. I drove away with my phone buzzing nonstop, texts pouring in. Marcus, Diane, even Cameron. I blocked them all. My attorney called as I pulled into my apartment. The apartment I'd rented 6 months ago when I first suspected where things were heading. The apartment Marcus didn't know about. How'd it go? Janet asked. Like we thought, I said. They were setting me up. For the business loan? Almost certainly. We'll find out in discovery. And you're okay? I unlocked my door, stepped into the space I'd furnished myself, the space that was mine. I'm okay. Call me if you need anything, she said. We'll start paperwork Monday. I poured a glass of wine and stood by the window. 17 floors up, the city stretched out below. Lights everywhere. Other lives being lived. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then Diane's voice. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I made a mistake 6 years ago. I'm correcting it now. Marcus will fight this. He can try. I took a sip of wine, but he'd have to prove I hid marital assets, which I didn't. I built separate assets, with work he thought was a hobby. in a company he never asked about. So using income, I reported to the IRS, but not to him because he never looked. More silence. You wanted me gone, Diane, I said. You've wanted it from the beginning. Well, you got your wish, just not the way you planned. You'll regret this, she hissed. I regret a lot of things, I admitted. But leaving tonight isn't one of them. I hung up. Blocked that number too. Over the next few days, the messages shifted. Anger turned to desperation. Desperation turned to attempted manipulation. Vanessa sent paragraphs about family loyalty. Cameron offered to mediate. Ashley sent articles about the importance of forgiveness. Marcus sent one message. I should have protected you. I didn't respond to any of them. My attorney found what we suspected. In Diane's home office, there'd been paperwork prepared for a $500,000 investment in Cameron's business opportunity, a tech startup that existed mostly in his imagination. The signatures required, Marcus and me. They were going to pressure you into it, Janet explained over coffee. That dinner was the setup. Make you feel worthless, then offer you a chance to prove you belonged by signing over money. Money I supposedly didn't have, I said. Money they assumed Marcus had. Janet shook her head. When they realized you had your own income, the plan shifted to intimidation. Can we prove intent? We don't need to. We just need to show a pattern of financial coercion. With the recording they made, we have it. The divorce moved faster than Marcus wanted. He tried to delay, filed motions, requested arbitration. But every motion revealed how little he knew about our actual finances. He listed assets that didn't exist and missed ones that did. His attorney clearly realized halfway through that Marcus had no idea what he was fighting for. Your wife built a multi-million-dollar company, I overheard his lawyer say during a recess. And you never noticed? We settled in 4 months. Marcus got exactly what I offered initially, half of our shared assets, which amounted to about $23,000, and his Honda. My company, built before we married and scaled during with my separate income, remained entirely mine. Even the condo lease was in my name alone. This is what you wanted? Marcus asked at our final meeting. He looked smaller somehow, tired. I wanted a partner, I said. Someone who saw me. I did see you. You saw the person you needed me to be, I corrected. There's a difference. He signed the papers without another word. 6 months later, I sold my company. Not because I had to, because I was ready for something new. The acquisition price, $7.2 million. I took my cut, paid my team their retention bonuses, and started the next thing. Smaller, more selective, entirely on my terms. I heard through acquaintances that Marcus moved back in with Diane, that Cameron's startup failed, that family dinners continued, but with a notable chill. Vanessa sent one last text. We never meant to hurt you. I read it. Didn't respond. Hurt wasn't the right word. They'd meant to erase me, to make me so small that I'd disappear into their narrative. The failed wife, the burden, the temporary chapter. Say, but erasure only works if the person erased accepts it. I never did. I built something they couldn't see because they refused to look. I created value they couldn't measure because they never asked. I became successful, not despite them, but in the quiet spaces where their attention never reached. The truth was simple. They invited me to that dinner to humiliate me. They recorded it. They planned it. They executed it perfectly. What they didn't plan for was the reveal, not of money, not of success, but of the reality that had been there all along. I was never the woman they thought I was. I was never small, never dependent, never temporary. I was just quiet, and they mistook my silence for absence. By the time they realized their mistake, I was already gone. Not defeated, not broken, just done. I think about that dinner sometimes. The empty envelope, the cameras, the laughter, and I smile. Because they got exactly what they wanted. They humiliated the version of me they invented. The real me? She was never in that room at all. She was busy building an empire they'd never see coming. And now she's living the life they never thought to ask about. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because she finally stopped waiting for permission to exist. They invited me just to humiliate me. I walked out owning everything that mattered.